Good morning, everyone. We are really happy and excited to welcome all of you to this eighth episode of the annual Emerging Ideas Conference. Having recently taken the helm at this organization, I am thrilled to kick off this conference, and I will also take this opportunity to give a brief insight into our company and its unique business model. I'm happy to tell you that we are on the path to get listed in the next 12 to 14 months. I would have loved to meet all of you face to face, but I guess nature had other plans. In fact, when we were planning the conference, there was a fierce debate on keeping this conference as a physical one. But being from the world of capital markets, we always hedge, and Omicron happened. I hope by the time we do our next one, we would be back to our real normal world. Having said that, I promise you that the next 3 days will be very exciting as we have worked very hard and curated a lot of differentiated and interesting ideas for you. That, in fact, brings me to the theme of this conference, India evolving for changing times. While the world is changing at a rapid pace, I think India is changing at an even faster pace. We are at a crucial inflection point. There are three big drivers which is actually evolving this landscape that are visible to us. And I wanted to talk a little about those today to you. First is the overall Indian education system. Our country has produced some of the world's most prominent business leaders with companies such as Google, Microsoft, Twitter, IBM, and the list can go on and on. Many of these companies are headed by someone of Indian origin, and you will be happy to know the market value of these companies is more than $5 trillion, while Indian GDP is only about 3 trillion. This is the outcome of the engineering and management institutes like the IITs and IIMs set up in the 1960s. With plenty of such institutions coming up in the last decade, we are confident that Indians will continue to play a critical role, not only on the global stage, even actually when it comes to the Indian tech landscape over the coming decades. The second important factor, although not known to many people in terms of its presence, is the Indian startup ecosystem. It's blooming and it's moving very, very fast. In the last 1 year itself, India has created over 30 unicorns, which is double of what we did over the last 6, 7 years. As a measure by the number and the value of these unicorns, India's startup space is the third most vibrant in the world now after US and China, and is actually ahead of all the other developed economies, including the countries in Europe. We have impacted all the major industries, permeated possibly every sector and every part of the work value chain. Whether it is fintech, consumer tech, we are churning out all kinds of innovative business models that are changing the lives of Indians. In fact, India is a global leader when it comes to the adoption of some of these tech platforms. This actually reveals that the Indian consumer is very much ready for the transformation that we are in the midst of. Some of these platforms you would have seen, like Zomato, Nykaa, Policy Bazaar, which all of us use in our daily lives, have successfully launched their IPOs, and several others like Ola, Delivery, Farmeasy are looking forward to monetize and go into the public markets. This will lead to a rapid evolution of both the listed space and the economy in general. And I think the third and the most structural lever is the Indian economic growth itself. Economic indicators are gathering pace, with India being one of the few global economies to have already passed the pre-COVID levels. The scenario looks very, very bright, and IMF and many other multilateral agencies expect India to grow its GDP at about 8.5% in 2022, the fastest for any major economy. And I think corporate India is going to be a big contributor and beneficiary of this growth. We've seen about 6, 7 years of lack of growth in corporate India. I mean, markets have expanded, multiples have expanded, but the real profit growth has not come in. After years of zero growth in profits, in the coming quarters, Indian corporates could see sales, operating margins, and ROEs that are at decadal highs. Manufacturing PMI has already hit a 10-month high in November, and increasing imports actually hint towards consumption coming back strongly as mobility continues to improve with increased vaccination coverage. We felt these fast evolving times warrant a discussion of novel ideas that would aid investors and entrepreneurs alike in navigating the investing landscape over the coming years. We have interesting speakers lined up who will be talking on a range of topics such as startup technology space, re-emerging sectors like real estate, emerging business models like data centers, and rapidly growing ones like the online ticket booking platforms. In addition, as usual, we'll also hear from the stock market thought leaders. This event will actually be spread over 3 days and would be attended by 41 companies represented by their leaders. The companies have a combined market cap of about 7.5 lakh crore, and each is spearheading the growth in their space. We are also blessed to have about 400 clients with a collective net worth of around 2 lakh crores. Our clients are predominantly entrepreneurs, ultra high net worth individuals, family offices, portfolio managers, and professional investors. We believe this conference will provide ideas to investors and entrepreneurs in these rapidly changing times. We indeed hope that it's thought provoking and interesting at the same time. I don't know where I lost you all, so I'll just start with the second section of my opening. So I wanted to give you a peek into the booming wealth management opportunity in India and a brief about our company and where we operate. Right now, as you were witness, the wealth management business in India is all set to attain new heights. We are seeing companies grow and gain market share. Many new investors are joining the capital markets. I think there is no debate that the Indian capital markets will continue to attract global funds for a long, long time. There is no other economy like ours which has a structural secular market for businesses to grow. And this will be accompanied by a shift in how Indian investors actually allocate their wealth. If you look at the overall allocation today, only about 25% of the net wealth is in financial assets. And about 50% of that sits in traditional bank deposits and cash. And that was, due to multitude of reasons. It was due to lack of financial literacy. It was due to the friction in, let's say, accessing the capital markets, opening an account, or doing a transaction. I think all these things are now in place with the advent of the mobile telephony, 4G penetration, Jan Dhan, bank accounts, the India stack. I think all parts of the country can now seamlessly access most parts of our capital markets, and which is why you have seen a tectonic shift in the allocation of people's mind share and assets. We've yet scratched the surface. I think we are about 4.5% in capital markets, and there is a long, long way to go. Consequently, I think the wealth management business represents a massive opportunity. At the same time, the industry is also undergoing rapid evolution, ranging from the birth pangs of technology platforms to the efforts of consolidation by bigger players and the regulatory onslaught. I mean, any industry in whichever market we have seen, when it becomes mainstream, there is enough and more regulations that come into play to protect the end investors. And I think in general, that's good for the industry. There may be pain in the short term, but it's generally good for the expansion of the industry. So in my view, even though there is a massive opportunity size ahead, it can be capitalized by players who have breadth and scale because of the complexity of technology regulations which have come into play. Much of the tech platforms that have cropped up to cater to the basic unmet needs of the retail segment, which I think is also a large market in itself, but they will not be able to cater to discerning clients like yourselves who have larger amounts of wealth and who require specialized and personalized services. I think people who have standardized products and tech-like delivery will cater to the base level of the pyramid. And as we move upwards, there would be firms like ourselves which would take over. In a largely fragmented industry, over the last 7-8 years, we've been able to achieve a massive scale with a valuable client base who have entrusted us with assets around 2 lakh crores. And I feel these numbers are only set to grow. As all of you seek to write this great Indian story that we have ahead of us, we hope to be a part of the journey and assist you in wealth creation by catering to each of your individual needs. With that, I come to the conclusion of this opening. I will not keep you long. I hope that you have a great overall experience and plentiful insightful interaction with various managements and speakers over the coming 3 days. To close off, I'd just like to mention this quote from Peter Drucker, which is relevant to our times. I think it's actually relevant to any time. The greatest danger in times of turbulence is not the turbulence itself. It is to act with yesterday's logic. I thank you all for taking out time from your busy schedules and getting a peek into our exciting future. Have a good 3 days ahead and happy ideas hunting.